Swagatam, Sadavaha. Here's Padmasambhava. I always feel rude if I don't introduce you to who was on the shrine. Padmasambhava is known as the second Buddha if you're a Tibetan, which I don't think none of you are Tibetans, but if you were a Tibetan, you'd think of him as the second Buddha. Not only that, but Padmasambhava is known as a great yogi, even a magician. He's a bit like Merlin in a way. Mythological and real, but probably mostly mythological. Shouldn't really say that in a Buddhist center, but it's true. But he's become real as an object of meditation, and he holds lots of the accoutrement of a yogi, like the Trishula in his hand, which is the trident here, which is obviously, it's not obvious, it's obvious to me anyway that it's from Shaivism. Anyway, that's a little introduction. They represent the three channels and so on. And different parts, different bindus or meditation points in the body. Padmasambhava. So this Trishula, this is 1, 2, 3 points. And the three channels represents lots of threes, but obviously it was probably originally taken from the Greek god Poseidon, who holds a trident as well. And there were lots of cross-pollinations from Greece from India, partly because, of course, Alexander went over in 350 before Common Era. Should we start yoga now? And I'll stop nerding. So we're going to sit on 2 blocks, cross-legged, and we're going to put a blanket underneath the shins. If you want to know anything about anything to do with yoga, Padmasambhava, Sanskrit, yoga history, do ask me, because I'm like a sort of pressure cooker of information that needs release. So, cross-legged. Sukhasana, so Sukha asana, I should say. Su means good, Ka means space, and asana means seat. So this is a good space seat, or one is in a good space in this seat. You can close your eyes. Some things are sort of come spontaneously, but I should make them clear. That we interiocept, which is kind of the balancing side to proprioception. Proprioception is awareness of your body in space. Interioception is the awareness of the space in your body. And obviously, as yogis, eventually those two paradigms break down, and so there's just one experience. There isn't this division between what happens, as it were, behind my skin, which is me, myself, and I, and then what happens, as it were, beyond the skin, which is the world. They end up being one thing more. So perhaps there's some movement. Certainly the chest is lightly lifted, and I guess that can take time to develop soft strength in the back, and I do want to keep that word soft in there, soft strength, because if we're going to honor the Sanskrit word vahi, flow, then the strength we have must be soft strength. So it's not sort of rigid, it's very much fluid. Buddhists and other traditions talk a lot, including Patanjali actually, about non-attachment. They give it various names. But non-attachment can sound confusing and even a bit sad. But if you think of it as flow, and then you realize that that flow is universal. If it's anywhere, it's everywhere. So it's got to be in your breath. It's got to be in your mind for it to be able to be in the breath. And it's got to be in the body. It's not us thinking about it. It's not us listening to someone talking about it. It's here now, experiential. So, for example, I can feel my body moving around. Slightly circular movements come, or again, it's not institutionalized. It's just natural, and it helps the breath and the mind. And this flow is also known in Buddhism as emptiness, shunyata, shunyata means emptiness. Shunya just means empty. Bring your hands to your heart center. And bring your attention into your heart center. Again, not as an idea, but as something visceral. So we have to be very, very honest, because it's quite tempting to make a sort of cardboard cutout version of our experience and live in that, so as to avoid living in the direct, immediate. But without the immediacy, then it's not going to happen. Huh? So we bring our attention into the heart space. We have to be radically honest, rather than approximately honest, which, I certainly can be approximately honest. I can think thinking about something is the same as doing it, but of course it's not. You're not going to get your hunger satisfied by thinking about your dinner, only by eating it. So attention into the heart, radically honest, not tense, of course, relaxed. And repetition, abhyasa. Interlace your morning, Kate. Interlace your fingers. Stretch your arms diagonally. Breathe through your nose. Make sure you know what a soft neck feels like. Like it's not tense right now. And then we want to maintain that softness. There's a couple of mats here, Kate. A mat there and a mat there. You choose. You choose. I thought you'd go for that one. Light tone in the tummy. Breathe through your nose. And again, check in with the neck. So that not only can we tell that there's flow in the neck just by feeling a sense of it not being physically tight, but we also feel that the breath flows. And this is an invitation to let go of what we pre-prepare. Baden-Powell's philosophy is the antithesis of yoga philosophy. Be prepared. Baden-Powell said, be prepared. Yogis say, nope. Yogis say, the more prepared you are, the less prepared you are. Because you're sort of preloaded and consumed by ideas instead of open, empty, and light. Take a big wide circle. Rest your hands on your legs. Deep breaths. So your palms are in a receptive state. This is called Jnana Mudra or Jnana Mudra. Sanskritists will accept either pronunciation. And so therefore, so will I. Jnana. Cognate with the KNO, knowledge, and the GN of gnosis. So in Sanskrit, with this JNA, Jna. So this mudra with your hands is the knowing mudra. And notice what it is not knowing, and you might worry like, oh God, I don't know. What is it everyone is knowing in the room right now? Nothing in particular. We often refer to it as the goddess or the field, the interdependent, which you can't grasp, but you can open to. That's why your palms are open. Just focused on the openness. That's why your thumb and index finger are touching. That's the focus. Release your fingers and wiggle them if you wanna. Still 2018's Vajrasati motto, wiggle if you wanna. And then change the cross of the legs. And then draw the buttock flesh out and back. So you come to the inner front edge of the sitting bones, the ischial tuberosities. And again, radical honesty. It's quite cool to put the word radical in front of things these days, so that I'm doing it. I'm with the trend, as ever. Which is why I sometimes wear a cardigan to yoga and a tank top. So lifting and light. So lightness is such an important quality. Laghu in Sanskrit, Laghu, laghu. It's used in Sanskrit rules of writing that you have to balance your heavy and light syllables, your laghu and guru syllables in a sentence. There's a space for you at the front of you. Yeah. So bring your attention into the heart center. again. And then practicing this radical honesty. And, I'll be honest with you that I'm as tempted as you are to make a sort of cardboard cutout version of reality, a sort of map instead of the territory, and to have a go at sort of living in that sort of version, a proximal version. But so I can think about being in the heart. I can have an idea of it. I can even have a sort of image, but it has to be visceral. You have to be, very, very honest. And then the reason why we resist that, the reason why we create instead of sort of cardboard cutout version sometimes is because it challenges us to let go. It challenges Baden-Powell. Be prepared, because we have, as Heraclitus said, you never step in the same river twice. If you come loaded and ready, thinking, well, yesterday this happened, so I'll be ready tomorrow when it happens again, it ain't going to happen tomorrow. Always going to be different. Hands to prayer if you haven't brought them there already, to encourage this centering. And of course, the centering is the same as emptiness. The centering is the same as Advaita, and not two. That means non-dualism. That's a very common word. We have Advaita Vedanta, but we have various other Advaitas. Non-duality in Buddhism, and non-duality in Shaivism, like non-dual Shaiva Tantra, and so on. Interlace, stretch your arms. Check in with your neck, check in with the neck in. And sorry, I've never said that before, probably never will again. Raise the arms up and breathe through your nose. And so just, feel for the flow. And actually, it's almost, the delight and ease of the correct yoga practice is in a way what makes it difficult. What makes it difficult is it's so easy. It's like in Dzogchen, which is the sort of Tibetan version of the Sanskrit Mahamudra. Mahamudra is like just open to this interdependent reality without overlaying it with anything. And that's already freedom, I believe. I don't know much about Christianity, although I did quite like those films with in the 70s. I can't remember his name, but he was really handsome, wasn't he? A guy who played Jesus. Yeah, that's it. Do you have green eyes, maybe? Very handsome. That will make you immediately think, oh, I'm in. Christianity, I'm in. But, apparently, if I'm not incorrect, Jesus said, the truth will set you free. That's the same as Dzogchen. Or at least I'm taking it to be the same as Dzogchen. Robert Powell, that's him. Big wide circle. Well done. Rest your hands in Jnana Mudra, or if you want to call it Jnana Mudra. Breathe. So it's in receptivity. Sati Sampajanya. That's Pali, not Sanskrit. Sati means to recollect or remember. And Sampajanya indicates this sort of flow of remembering. There's no naturalness. So you're remembering this knowing. Not as a thought, not as something you grab, not as something you worry about. There's no worry at all involved in this. There's no uncertainty. Your fingers tingle. I think I'm right saying your fingers tingle. Yeah. Palms have got a little tingling. Sometimes it's more towards the little finger side of the palm on the hypothenar eminence. You probably were thinking that. You're probably thinking my hypothenar eminence is tingling a bit. With any of you scan, there's tingling in your elbows too, right? And there's sensations on your chest as well. You're just breathing into all these sensations. If that's your phone ringing, you just leave it. It's nice, actually. So, no, don't worry. I quite lovely. I always find the noise of people turning off their phones is much worse than their phones. Because they usually run to their bags and they throw everything out the bag. And okay, give your fingers a little wiggle. Deep breaths, well done. And put that. So a great yogi could sit in that pose a long, long time. That's all you need. Lay on your back, if you don't mind. Who would mind laying on their back? No one minds. I'll face this way because I think those zooming in might just get a view of my bottom, magnificent as it is. You know, enough's enough. So you're laying on your back, breathing through your nose, lower back soft and relaxed, and enjoy. If you want, you don't have to. You might, not consider that your yoga is part of your enjoyment. You might want, no, I save that for when I go to the cinema or something like that, or I have a nice bath. But yoga's serious, very serious. So that's fine. If you enjoy being serious, then that's enjoyment in its own way, or just plain enjoyment, like just nice, just laying on my back. If you're nervous, of a nervous disposition, that's normal. You've got nerves. Everyone's nervous, and so that's fine. It's literally all we need is awareness and non-violence, And what is non-violence? It's love. It's maitri in Sanskrit or metta in Pali. Raise up the leg closest to this side of the room, straight up, and Dorsian plantar flex your foot. So you push the heel, you point the toe, you push the heel, you point the toe. You can circle or half circle. You can scrunch and unscrunch. You can bend and extend the knee. You can shake the leg. It's not what you do, it's what it does for you. We're not concerned about how we look, but how we feel. And what we want to feel, according to all the yoga texts, is flow, non-attachment, spontaneity. These are words drawn directly from yoga texts that I'm quoting here. When you're ready, bring that leg down, raise the other. Simple. Nothing could be easier. Again, dorsiplantar, flex your foot, circle, half circle. You can some of you can feel the plantar fascia. I never really understood plantar fasciitis very much because I was younger and I never had it. And I don't really have it now, but I can feel as I've moving towards at a slow, steady pace, death. Sometimes, sorry about that. I can feel some tightening up there. Of course, eventually it will all tighten up. There'll be complete rigor mortis. Again, I've done it again. Sorry. Breathing through the nose. And when you're ready, bring that leg down. Take a breath or two. I recently, in the summer, went to teach at a festival I often teach at, Into the Wild Festival, which is a marvelous festival run by a practitioner of Dzogchen Buddhism. His name is Hugh, but he's known as through his nickname Deja Hugh, which is a pretty good name. But when I went to that festival, there was a band called Mobius Loop. I'm advertising them now because I'm going to go and see them in Brighton in December. Mobius Loop, and they did this song called Dance While You Can. We're all going to die, so dance while you can. And it was one of the most cheerful moments I've had all year. And everyone was dancing and smiling, and they kept saying, we're all going to die. So anyway, it was, so actually that kind of reflection is not bad, but good. Because we're not dead, right? Here and now. And so we can experience this. It's called chamatkara. Chamatkara. So this word is often misunderstood. In modern yoga, people use this word to mean wild. I have no idea why anyone started doing that. Anyway, it means awe and wonder. Lift up your feet, stretch both your legs up, wag your tail if you want to. You can swing the legs over more or less, bend, extend, move your feet. It's about loosening up, and you should feel that universally. It's not just that we feel it in the body, we must feel it in the mind if it's real in the body. Otherwise, it's just a cardboard cutout version of freedom. So take deep breaths, move left, move right, feel into it, disappear to just get into it. That's something really juicy, right? So you can, some people like to kick their own ass. Someone's got to do it. Let's all do it. Kick your own ass. Breathing. So you can actually, this is a practice taken from the Hatha Abhyasa Padhati, which is a relatively late text, which was probably the Yoga Kuranta that Krishnamacharya said he drew from a text called the Yoga Kuranta. It was probably actually the Hatha Abhyasa Padhati that he was talking about, but one of the authors' names is Kuranta, so that's why probably he called it that. Anyway, raise your legs back up when you're ready. Raise your arms up so you're like some sort of creature on its back, like in the Franz Kafka book Metamorphosis, which I very much like to. I read several times when I was a teenager. I found it fascinating and disturbing. We're going to imagine there's elasticated bands between our hands and our shins, the part of the shin near the foot. We're just going to imagine stretching that band and just letting it bounce back. I don't know how good your imagination is, but if you're good at imagining, really go for it. Like really try and feel an elasticated band. And you can extend the range to whatever you want. Make sure your back is nice and peaceful and passive. Don't hold the breath, and please don't hold tension in your neck. Now we can try opposite. So now imagine that the opposite leg and opposite arm have elasticated bands, and they're moving away from each other. You stretch that band, and then it contracts, and vice versa. And breathing. Of course, this is a good practice for the left and right hemispheres of the brain in terms of their communication with each other, which makes you a more well-rounded, nicer, better person. Isn't that marvelous? So again, you can extend the range to whatever feels interesting, powerful. Yoga's not sort of a little tinkly bell and some wind chimes and, you know, a Buddha bowl. it's much more like, it's powerful, you know. This is why we use the word Shakti. Shakti means power. Okay, when you've returned back to the raised leg position, take a breath or two, bend your knees, and let's have a hug of your legs. So hug your legs and roll left and right. Some of you, I think most of you will hug your legs with the knees together, but some will hug with the knees apart. I've long since been a knees apart leg hugger, but you know, they're just different. They're not better than each other, they're just different. And what you're looking for are sensations that take your speech away. You know, the mental speech, the mental dialogue. So, you know, while you're able to generate Vikalpa stories, and Vikalpa, by the way, anyone interested in modern Yoga Nidra, Vikalpa is the same as the word Sankalpa, which is used in that tradition, modern Yoga Nidra. We call that MYN. That term MYN was brought about by the great scholar Kadeen Morecambe, which brought that word in, modern Yoga Nidra. Release and place and breathe real deep. So release and place and breathe real deep. Honestly, naturally. So a great yogini gets more and more from less and less. She doesn't need to do 72 asanas in however long they do it in that tradition. I won't mention it because it sounds like I'm slagging off Rocket Yoga, but anyway, I'll just leave the name Rocket Yoga out of it and just say there are 72 asanas in Rocket Yoga. No, I'm sure it's lovely if you like that sort of thing, but you know, you don't need it. You know, you could use that for yoga, I guess. I've never tried it, so don't knock it if you haven't tried it. But you don't need it. A great yogi should be able to get into yoga in one asana. And of course, that's very traditional. We don't find hardly any asanas, not even in the sort of classical centerpiece of the Hatha tradition, the Hatha Pradipika. We only find 15 poses, most of which are seated. Okay, remove the block from under your head. Put it to one side and put your hands there instead. Pop your hands behind your head like you're on holiday. So a holiday mode in this beautiful holiday environment. Deep breaths. Here you can you feel your shoulder blades? I know you can, I don't know my master. You can feel your shoulder blades. And you can feel the pressure the floor is pressing into your shoulder blades, particularly the medial shoulder blades. And you can feel whether there's a yes or a no through the breath. There is no middle ground, I'm sorry to say. You know, the cardboard cutout version of release isn't release, it's still attachment. Uh, Breathing easy, jaw soft, eyes soft. Lift up your feet, lift up your head. You can feel your abdominals. Now, I don't know much about Pilates, but one of my best friends is a Pilates teacher. I must give him a call, actually. I hope you're well, Paul. If you want to do Pilates, go to Paul McLinden. He's the best in the world, in the universe, in fact. Anyway, what I quite like is the Body Control is the original name of it, Body Control. And then the name Pilates was added, obviously, afterwards because of Joseph Pilates. But there's a deep sense of deep focus on small movements being controlled, especially within the core. So let's bring some of that, because I think we can turn that into yoga. So as you bring one leg forwards and the other leg backwards, just smallish movements at first, feel the subtle muscular differences on either side, and deep in the belly, you can feel how the deep aspect of the psoas muscle in the deep belly elongates as it keeps tone. So it's eccentric contraction. And really focus on the muscle. See if you can imagine. I can imagine it, so I reckon you can. A muscle that attaches to your top of your inner thigh, through your deep belly, that as you extend your range, you can feel it. It's working hard to keep its tone as it's lengthening at the same time. Eventually, we're going to toe tap on the floor, trying to keep evenness between the sides, but not tension, of course. It's a relaxed, happy event. You know, what we're doing is calling ourselves back to presence. We often have this comparison of a mother cow calling her calves back to her, which is a lovely image. Okay, eventually, one foot will land, then the other. Then the head draws down slowly. Feel it. Not tense, but just enjoy it. Enjoy the feeling until your head's back down. And then I'd love to hear you take a deep breath in, followed by out, and followed by another in. You know, it's just called breathing. Goes in, goes out, goes in, goes out, goes in, goes out. And that's selfless, isn't it? Who's breathing? Flex up again. This time open the angle at the back of the knees. Lift your head again. Feel the deep tone without tension. Yoga Sutras tell us explicitly that we should be relaxed. It's explicit that we should be relaxed. Turn so you face towards these Buddhist images, or if you're at home zooming in, doesn't matter which way you're turning at home. Elbow and knee towards each other. Keep calm, and then go the other direction. Breathe through your nose. If you want, you can try extending the opposite leg and even extending it and raising it once and do the same the other side. That's an option. You don't have to do that bit. It adds a little bit of boom. Back to center when you've done both sides. Head down, feet down. Everyone takes a deep breath. Followed by another deep breath. Followed by another. And yogis are super interested in selflessness. They're always looking for it. It's like, where is the selflessness? They're super interested in selflessness. Release your hands from behind your head and roll over whenever you're ready. And once you've rolled over, bring yourself onto your forearms. The forearms of your two arms. You have to say that in a Buddhist center where there are, forearms. On Avalokiteshvara. It's not uncommon for bodhisattvas to have four arms. So, yeah, as you're doing, Ali, no doubt needed. Like that. You can have your hands together if you prefer. Sometimes for people with difficulties in the shoulder capsule, that helps. Or hands apart. Share the load. Don't have rising buttocks. Okay, so we don't want floating buttocks, which would just sort of rise and rise and rise like it's sort of helium in them. And then you'd be on the ceiling held up by your floating buttocks. Instead, Keep a line from shoulder blades to buttocks to heels. If it's tight and hard in the tummy, don't worry about it. It's all right. Just breathe into it. Share the load. Move forwards and backwards. If it's very hard, I suggest frowning. Crying is another option. Bring your knees forwards and come to a kneeling position. Take 2 or 3 or 4 deep breaths. Now, I know what you're thinking. And I'm thinking the same. You're thinking, Phil missed out on that pose. And I saw Phil, he kept peering up through the window every so often. So we want Phil to enjoy that too, right? Yes. So let's come forwards again. Let's do it again. For Phil. This is for Phil. Breathe easy. Jaw soft. Moving forwards, backwards. Thanks for that line. That was well delivered, that line. I thought I got away with that one. It's like an old-fashioned pantomime or something. And then it goes to the interval at that point. Move left, move right, move forwards, backwards. Again, if it's difficult, try internal complaining. That can help. Like, oh God, oh no, those kind of things. Okay, knees forwards. Come up. Don't want to spoil Phil, do we? One hand on top of the other. If kneeling's difficult, put a block between the heels and buttocks or 2. If it's difficult for the ankles, put a rolled up blanket under the ankles and breathe through your nose. Rest one hand on top of the other. So release the tight fist of grasping and boundless infinity is revealed. Is a quote from a poem that I think has everything that you need to know about yoga. When Patanjali says in the Yoga Sutra that yoga should be relaxed and focused on the infinite, the infinite is not some abstract idea in the future that you can't understand, or the infinite is what you go into when you sip your coffee and for a moment forget to run all your programs. Coffee's just a flavor. It's just slightly burnt beans, isn't it? You know, not a big deal, bitter beans. But because it's so rich, for a second, nothing can compete with it. So it just knocks you off your center. And then you go, oh, I love coffee, you know, but it's just slightly bitter burnt beans, you know. Sorry. But the richness is what we actually love. It's the same with anything we love, you know, anything that's rich enough. And actually everything is rich enough if you open up to it. People are rich. All of us are rich. Our own emotions are rich. Forests are rich. You know, the smells of and the sounds of the cracking twigs under your feet and the smells of the rotting leaves and dripping from leaves, water dripping, etc. You know. There's a little tiny park near St Pancras station in London, and it's tiny. It's one of the tiniest parks I've ever been in. And it's rich, it's magic. Absolutely like a little secret little park around there. Absolutely magic. Good. So having convincingly sold to you how good richness is, I'll invite you. That's what yoga teachers say, don't they? I invite you to stretch the legs out. I've watched all these memes come and go in the yoga world over the years. Everyone's inviting everyone to everything now. Nothing wrong with it. I just quite enjoy being sarcastic, that's all. Put your hands behind your head. And I invite you to come into Ardha Navasana, half boat, by leaning back your body about 60 degrees and raising your legs up by 30. Level with your eyes. And vibrating is fine, not unusual. You're not trying to flatten the back. You are breathing through your nose. It's a very interesting pose. What parts of the body it's affecting? The core muscles, exactly. The deep core muscles. And you are doing very, very well. Well, that's a good idea, Ali. Does that help? That sort of does help a little bit. Everyone's copying because they're just clutching at straws. What helps? I'll do it. I'll do anything. Okay, bend your knees helps. Hug your legs, lift your chest, breathe through your nose, and just loosen your back a little bit. So if you hug your legs and just move left and right, you can massage your back and breathe easy and just explore the richness of the sensations, the richness of the sensations. So don't hold your breath, breathe easy. The sensations are very, 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 very rich, but only if you open to them. And we often don't open to our experience because we make a cardboard cutout version of it and relate to that. Like we make cardboard cutout versions of family and friends. We make caricatures out of them. You know, mom, dad, brother, sister, partner, even children. There are all these little cartoons that we make. But the reality of any being is, you know, if you open up to it, it's immediately rich enough. You know, everything's rich enough. Some things are particularly rich, and some things we've already given permission for ourselves to relax into, but only oftentimes for brief moments. People who sip coffee disappear into the infinite, but usually for 1, 2, maybe 3 seconds before supercharging themselves back into their constructed reality of being a person running around, doing whatever people do. Good. So we're going to come into Adho Mukha Svanasana, down face dog. You can come into it one of 2 ways. Probably not this way. This is a bit silly, really, but it's up to you. I just felt like it. But you might think, I don't feel like that, Jim. I don't think I ever will. And that's fine. So open the armpits, be calm. Make sure your hands are equidistant from the front and the sides of the mat, and the middle fingers face forwards. And then get into the richness. And oftentimes that means play, like moving left, moving right, stretching, 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 stretching armpits, right back to groins. Not a thought. It's not a thought. It's much more powerful than that. And same with the outer armpits at the same time, stretching, 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 stretching. It's not a thought. It's more powerful than that. A thought is just a cardboard cutout version or idea of reality, not the reality itself. Reality itself will blow your mind, which is why Eckhart Tolle made such a lot of money from writing on his book front cover, The Power of Now. Right? So, because it's true. And, you know, you say something true for some people. If you say something true, you get crucified. For other people, you get lots of houses in America. So that's Eckhart Tolle got the long straw that time. Okay, well done. Coming forwards and down to hands and knees where you catch your breath. And take a few deep breaths. So this is Brahmanasana, which is often translated weirdly as tabletop. I don't know why. It's just table pose. Whoever sees just a tabletop floating in the air without the rest of the table, I don't know. So it's table pose, Brahmanasana. This is what Brahmana means, is table. Jaw soft, eyes soft, and just moving your pelvis left and right. And breath, of course, is number 1, isn't it? Breath is number 1. Walk your knees towards your wrists. Good job. Turn your hands the other way round. So a yogi is someone who gets more and more from less and less. So someone who's bought into sensual stimulation might find, you know, it's like, what? It's boring. It's just a stretch, bored. You know, and that's any of us at any time, isn't it? We can oscillate between being sort of super subtle and sensitive, or like, no, next, entertain me. But actually, if you move around and if you know, get really sort of calm, then less is definitely more. You know, less is definitely more. So as you move around, the circumference of your wrists, and there is a sort of oval circumference, isn't there, to your wrist? The 8 bones, 7 which form the carpal tunnel, and then there's this additional 8th bone, which I always feel sorry for because it sits above the others, separate to the others, and is called the pisiform. So there's 2 reasons to feel sorry for it. So as you move around, you can feel all those different bones and their ligaments. They're in two rows, one behind and one in front. Those bones moving, and intuition can balances those bones with the breath and with the mind. Intuition is power. Pratibha means really illuminated or turning towards illumination. Prati can mean lots of things. It can mean turning away from or turning towards. In this case, turning towards. Good. Okay. Peel your hands slowly, one at a time. Out from that. Good Lord. I hear some of you. Good Lord. Take a breath. Wag your tail. So one way you can do that is to make windscreen wiper blades of your shins. And I think that it's very hard to know. You know, dogs are quite cheerful. Is their cheerfulness, is their wagging of their tail an expression of their cheerfulness, or does wagging your tail just make you cheerful? So I think the latter. You can feel it if you say, like, get into whack, and then you're like, oh yeah, feeling quite chipper. Is this a real yoga? Is anything real? Good. Take a breath or two. Take 2 or 3 or 4 deep breaths. Take the foot that's furthest away from me and bring it forwards onto the little finger side of its own hand. You don't have to do it as dramatically as I just did. And breathe into it. So you go forwards and back. You could take one hand forwards, one hand back. That's all, both hands forwards. You can, if you want, lift the back knee and stretch that and re-land it. So anything that kind of feels like, oh, that's nice, you know, stretching your leg, bending your knee. Some people find coming further forwards. They might be, some people bring one or both elbows towards the floor. It's not a goal. It just might be a stretch for you. Some people even let themselves roll onto the little toe side of the front leg. And you breathe into it in your own way. So just playing with it. Jaw soft, eyes soft. What you're looking for is something that makes you want to slap the canvas metaphorically. I'm speaking about a metaphor that's associated with wrestling in the 70s and 80s, which so when someone pretended to do something that clearly wasn't even slightly painful to the other person, like bend their knee in the normal direction, they would pretend to surrender by slapping the canvas. Okay? Like, oh, stop bending my knee in the normal direction, but knees bend. And then, you know, because it was all staged, right? That surrender, that almost like, oh, ooh, 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 you know, you want that here and now. That's what we want. That's what we're going for. Oh. So anything that makes your mouth turn into a circle, anything that makes you go ooh, ah, or ah, or don't know how to spell that. Ah, whew, you know, those kind of, you know. And if you can sit on the sidelines, then it's not it yet. It's not intense enough. Okay. Groovy. Back to hands and knees. Take a breath, wag your tail. You know, try, you know, experiment with that tail wagging. I mean, dogs are such cheerful creatures, aren't they? They kind of, even when they're old and kind of broken, their legs are sort of hanging off behind them. They're still like, you know, they're still like, yeah, I catch the ball as they fall on their face. Yeah, even when they've got 3 legs, they don't care. They're like, yay, everything's great. So we can get that kind of vibration. Well, because they don't wag their tails enough. That's why. Let's bring the other leg forward. I'm right. It's just we don't wag our tails enough. So wag your tail a bit more, and you'll be enthusiastic even when your legs are falling off and you know breathing easy. They're still like, that's fine. I'll catch the ball, you know, and dragging. They've only got one leg. I know. We love them very dearly, and what we are, our old dogs. We're inspired by them. That's how they live on. That's how they live on. Coming forwards, coming back. Sorry, I got a bit emotional then. Anyone else? I got a bit emotional then. I had to hold it in. I was going to have a bit of a cry about Lewis, the Alsatian, white Alsatian. Yeah, white Alsatian. He was lovely. Anyway, enough of that silly old dog. Just move forwards and backwards and play with it any way you like. You can lift the back knee. It's just about, about absorption. About absorption. Now, Lewis, that silly old dog, he was most absorbed when he had a cuddly toy. You give him a new cuddly toy, he'd remove all the labels and the eyes. That's the first thing he'd do. Yeah, I think he thought they were like ticks or something on it. And then he'd suck it. If it had a head on the toy, he'd just put that whole head in his mouth and just suck it for ages and ages. Very cute. It was very cute. But he was clearly absorbed in a sort of trance when he was doing that. So that's what we're looking for now, a kind of like, absorbed trance. So come back into your breath, look for something rich in the present, like something that makes you want to slap the canvas, metaphorically speaking. Ooh, things that make you go, ooh. And stay with those. Habits will try and pull you out of this richness, out of the arms of the goddess. But you know the goddess is your savior. The truth will set you free. The power of now, etc. Right? The miracle of mindfulness. These are all, I was going to say best-selling books, but I suppose the Bible is a good-selling book, isn't it? Of Zen and the power of motorcycle maintenance. Is that what you mean? Is that a different? Put on a mother. Yeah, there's a lot. In fact, there are hundreds of them, and some of them are for sale downstairs right now. Okay, back onto your hands and knees. Take a breath. Wag your tail. Let's come into Ekapada Rajakapotanasana. So one knee forwards behind its own wrist. Stays there. The foot moves diagonally across the body while you stretch your other leg back. And if your knee is uncomfortable, lean across it, particularly if it's medial. You can also use a block if you want under your bum and or under your head. And you breathe and you just massage into it. And hopefully you can find something that's, every time, I do this every week, several times a week. I try to find what it is so I can tell you, because it's kind of my job. And then when I find it, I can't speak, because it's a field of change that we're surrendered to, that we're part of. Body, brain, breath, universe is what we call in some yoga traditions Prakriti. So traditions like Sankhya Yoga call it Prakriti. And even in the Tantra, even in the Shaiva Tantra, this word Prakriti is used, especially in the first Tantra ever written, the Nishvara Tattva Samhita. So you can be up or down. The pigeon part normally refers to the chest that we make, the sort of pigeon in love kind of thing. And they've usually got their chest when they're in love, inverted commas, and being generous with the word love. The male pigeon puffs its chest up and does, quite frankly, a ridiculous dance in front of the lady pigeon. Backwards and forwards, head goes up, head goes down, moving 2 steps this way, 2 steps that. Usually it looks like the female pigeon is either ignoring him or just thinks, oh yeah, it just flies off. I don't know how it never seems to work. And yet there are more pigeons all the time. So, anyway, breathing, stretching, breathing. Up or down, up to you. Okay, coming forwards if you're up, coming down if you're up, coming up if you're down, tuck your back toes under, bring your back knee forwards, back to hands and knees and catch your breath. Wag your tail. Keep that jaw soft and those eyes soft, good job. And then the other knee goes directly behind the other rib released, and there it stays. The foot moves diagonally across and you stretch back in your own time. Again, we don't want any dukkha in the medial knee. That is the inside of the knee. And if there is, lean over that direction. Happy to explain all the whys we do things, but I already talk a lot. So if you want me to talk any more about anything, just ask me or ask me at the end. No, it doesn't say me. You can find really intense sort of like moments that are like almost make you feel sick because of the challenging. Yeah, sometimes it makes a sort of, a profound release of deep tension in the breathing processes. Yeah, that's good to hear that. So as you explore, you can find these sort of, it's so hard to describe, but they are releases in the nerves. And that might come up in a variety of different ways. Breath is everything. That's what we say in Vajrasattva Yoga. Breath is everything, because breath is both the means by how you know where holding is, and it's also the means by which you release that holding. How you know where it is and how you release it. Let it flow. And letting it flow is letting it go. You have to. You're invited not by the yoga teacher, but by the moment to let go. Still an invitation, but the recommendation yoga gives us again and again is go with it. Go with it. Because the lighter you are, the more appropriate your responses will be to the moment. Remember, you can be down or up in the pose. Up to you. Light tone in the tummy, pelvic floor buoyant, jaw soft. Okay, well done. If you're up, come down a bit. If you're down, come up a bit. Bring your back knee forwards. Come back to hands and knees and take 2 or 3 or 4 deep breaths. Come to toes tucked under position where you stretch the plantar fascia. And so really stretching your toes, pushing them back and then pushing back through them is half of what we're doing. Yoga is simple. It's a process of crossing a river. And that river, the 2 banks, represent the 2 possible experiences of reality we can have. The cardboard cutout version, which is the conceptualized version of reality, where there are dualities like you and me, subject and object. Subject and object. And the other side, the whole subject-object duality, it's crazy. It's gone. It's replaced by compassion. It's replaced by generosity. It's replaced by wisdom. And to cross over, you need a rich sensation. You got one, right, in the plantar fascia. If you want to make it richer, you can by sitting up. That makes it richer. And you breathe into that plantar fascia. So that's the second step. First stepping stone, richness to cross this river. But if you only take that stepping stone, you're just standing on a little rock in the middle of a fast-flowing river. Not great. Your only 2 choices are to jump back to the near shore, which people have commonly done. I always think of that as the sort of late 60s mind expanding, drawing back into the 70s mind contracting. Suddenly, men are wearing denim and having big moustaches and sideburns in the 70s are very manly, like a sort of counter swing. That's like jumping back to the near shore. The best thing to do is go over. You do that through saying yes through your breath. Just 2 more breaths, opportunity. In this pose, say yes. And then come forwards, because it's intense. I know it's intense. Lift up your knees, breathe through your nose. And then you can feel another stretch through the calcaneus tendon. Now I know what you're thinking. My calcaneus tendon, Jim, you must be talking about the longest tendon in the body. You're right, I am, the calcaneus tendon. And you're probably thinking, well, that's the one that extends from my gastrocnemius and soleus to my calcaneus. You're right again. So those are the calf muscles, and the calcaneus is the heel bone. So breathe into this long muscle tendon. You can feel the sensation, but that's just one stepping stone put you in the middle of the river. Don't jump back. Walk forwards. Take the next stepping stone. You do that by agreeing, saying yes. But agreement asks you, disagreement is where we're attached to things that aren't this. Concepts, like attached to a concept about myself, like I'm great or I'm a loser. Most of us have those two concepts oscillating. I'm great, I'm a loser. I'm great, I'm a loser. Like that. But that's not this, is it? So you got to let go of that. Or ideas about the future or the past, similarly. We're going to lift up until our heels come down to the floor and breathe a little. Keep your ribs, if you can, on your thighs and allow movement such as little bounces of the bum. The French know it as the posterior or the derrière. The bum. I call it the bum. Now raise your arms up. And again, a little bit of movement might help you to stay loose. Stay loose. Arms forward and up. And again, up, down, left, right, movements. We're in Utkatta. Utkatta is Sanskrit for squatting. Often mistranslated over many decades into Utkatta, translates into many modern postural yoga books as fierce. But we've discovered through discussions with our friend Jim, not me, Jim, but another Jim Mallinson, born in the same year as me, actually, that Utkatta always means to squat. So some people might even want to squat. Right? It depends. For some people, squatting's all right. For some people, squatting's not all right or possible. So you just go to where you go. And then wherever you came to, we're working our way back up. Big wide circle, hands to the heart. Tadasana Namaskara. Take deep breaths. Spread your toes if you want, so you make contact with the ground. And really feel your contact until it's not a cardboard cutout, but it's beautiful. The truth will set you free. Means that this moment is so rich that you can't grasp it. And it's grasping, according to the Buddha, which stifles our opportunity to be free, grasping. Now, you're probably wiser and more questioning than me, but I just took that on, as a sort of statement of truth for about 18 years from Buddhist tradition. Grasping causes suffering. And I didn't even think to myself, what is grasping? And just went along with it. Oh yeah, grasping. Yeah, we all other Buddhists looking at each other, go, grasping causes, yeah, we're all agreeing with each other. But what is grasping? Attaching to anything at all as mine or not mine. Anything at all, a thought, a feeling, a physical sensation. That's grasping. That's the rope by which we bind ourselves. What's its opposite? Opposite of that is flow. Bring your hands onto your hips, step forwards towards the front of your mat. Jaw soft, eyes soft. Keep the foot that's closest to this side of the room towards me. Keep it where it is. Don't move it. Step the other one back towards 3/4 of the way back on your mat. That's it. Go for it. You're doing good. I'm doing the other foot. Don't worry about that. That's just me. Stand up tall. Breathe through your nose. Go a little wider across the width of your mat. In other words, bring your front foot towards me. A little bit more. Your front foot. That's it. So you go wider. Hands on the hips. See if you can feel where the pelvic floor is without tensing up, without grasping. Raise your arms. Light tone of the tummy. Find where the pelvic floor is. Make sure everything's flowing, including the neck. Inhale. Exhale, bend your front knee. And jaw soft and eyes soft. Now, there's a stretch I think you feel on your inner groin of your back leg. The inner groin of the back leg. It goes across from the inner groin, the top of the inner thigh, across your pubic bone. Stretched across the pubic bone. Breathe into that stretch. It actually goes beyond there. You might have to imagine this next bit, because after it goes across the pubic bone where you can feel it stretching, it goes underneath your belly muscles and attaches to the sides of your lower spine. So see if you can really imagine and feel this muscular area and play with it to encourage more union. The name of our subject is Union Yoga. Inhale with the pelvic floor in your awareness. Come up. Step back foot forwards. Take a deep breath, or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. Shake out if you want. So just loose, nice and loose, and step the other foot back when you're ready. When you're ready. Again, walk your front foot further across the width of the mat, away from me. Away from me. Hands on the hips. Raise your arms up. Light tone in the tum. Breathe through your nose. Soften your eyes. Relax the roots of your neck. Feel for the pelvic floor. We might first of all go to the cardboard cutout of the pelvic floor, the idea of it. And then, okay, fine, that's the map. Go off the map into the territory. So the map can give you a rough idea, very rough idea of what the territory is like. We use maps, they're useful. But they're never, ever a substitute for being awake when you're actually on the territory itself. Huh? Bend your front knee. Breathe through your nose. Light tone of the tummy. Jaw soft, eyes soft. Just checking the zoomers are all okay. Things are still working out. Yep, look like now. Good. Stay in touch with the pelvic floor the whole duration. Moment to moment. Make sure the roots of the neck are not tense. And feel that inner groin coming round and forward. Virabhadrasana. Virabhadra means that good, that Bhadra, hero, Vira. Inhale, come up with the pelvic floor in your full awareness. Hands to the hips, calmly if you can, step forwards, bring your feet towards each other, shake it off. Take 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 deep breaths. Good job. Now take a brick block, if you've got one. If you haven't got one, go get one. There's some at the back. And put it on the side of the mat that's closest to me. The side of the mat that's closest to me. Yeah, there's lots of brick blocks around. You can share with each other. Good job. So that's on the side of the mat that's closest to me. And again, step the foot that's furthest away from me, step that foot backwards. So, sorry, I should pretend, but the brick block can be here, like this way, or this way. Obviously, I haven't got a brick block, but a purple block shows you where it should be. Anyone who's been realizing for a while that my t-shirt's on inside out, I now have realized as well. Oh, okay. Raise the arm that's furthest away from me if you realize that my t-shirt was inside out before I did. Okay. And then raise your arm up if you like chocolate, the arm furthest away from me. Oh, so your legs should be the other way around. The other leg should be forward.
Dyslexic now.
Yeah, that's all right. Nothing wrong with that. It's okay. Your legs are the wrong way around. Yeah, only you are. Yeah. Yeah, only you. Yeah. Yeah. Inhale, exhale, come forwards and down and turn towards me. No, I didn't mean to isolate you, but yeah, you're on your own with that one. So, hand on the brick, could be higher, could be lower. Extend your bottom ribs. Looks great. Release the the bum, the gluteus maximus on the back leg. And if you don't know how to do that, bend your back knee a bit. And then you'll feel it like, oh, your eyes will soften a bit. Oh, yeah, oh, it's better when my arse is less tight. Tight arse, exactly. So, tight arse is a word we use for people who are not generous, isn't it? And that's an important thing in yoga, generosity. Yeah, good. That's a good sign. Heating up. Extend the bottom ribs. Breathe through your nose. Keep the jaw soft. Don't look down unless it's very, very interesting. Look forwards. It's more interesting that way, isn't it? Buddhas, bodhisattvas, and then, of course, my face, which is absolutely beautiful to look at. Inhale. Come on up. Oh, yeah. Good. Oh, wow. Swap. The other leg in front. Good job. Make sure you're going wide enough across the width of the mat. Good job. Wide enough across the width of the mat. And then get ready to raise your other arm. So, well, don't get ready, just raise it. I don't know how you get ready. Just walk that foot further across the width of the mat towards this block. That's it. I'm just changing my t-shirt the right way around. Inhale. Stretch out. I'm changing my t-shirt. Exhale. Turn and land towards me over this side of the room. Good job. Good job. Really extend your bottom ribs. Don't lean down too low. Extend your bottom ribs. That's it. Don't lean down too low. So look round, turn round away from me. Yes, I miss you too. Extend the bottom ribs. Breathe through your nose. Keep the jaw soft. Release the gluteus maximus on the back leg. Just let your knee bend a bit. And I bet you'll feel like, oh, that feels better. Most people don't realize that we're holding subtle tension in our bums quite a lot of the time. Yeah. That's because most of us are flying by the seat of our pants in most moments. Pulling down from the bottom shoulder blade all the way through. Downwards. Good. Inhale. All right, come on. Up you come. Inhale, coming up. Bring your back foot forwards and just shake it off. And, whatever feels good and useful for you in this present moment. So just shaking it off. Now turn towards the front of the room and bring your feet together. And chest up and soft and easy. Well done, Ali. Arms down. Yeah, I feel relaxed. So very informal. Very informal. Like, like a weekend sort of yoga vibe. Imagine it's a weekend. Right? And you're like, oh, it's Saturday. Saturday's informal, especially Saturday morning. Right? It's like it's the weekend. It means you can kind of have a longer breakfast. You can have jam instead of muesli. It's, it's the weekend. Confessions of a yoga teacher. Jaw soft, shoulders down, chest up, crown of the head lifting. Find the pelvic floor. Honest, natural, enjoyable, disappearing into the arms of the goddess, which is a representation of the profound, powerful richness of the moment. The goddess is often known as Shakti. Power, just power. Power surges through the body, expresses through speech and movement and thought and action. Power. This is not a sort of, I don't know if has anyone seen the video White Woman's Instagram by Bo Burnham? If you haven't, I highly recommend it to you. You might think it sounds, you might think that sounds insulting, White Woman's Instagram. It is in a really funny, good way. I highly recommend. It's sort of a Mickey take of yoga Instagram accounts. Raise your arms up. Yeah, probably Bo Burnham, White Woman's Instagram. If you don't laugh, I'll give you £1.95 in cash. Yeah, because it is very funny. Press your feet, raise your fingers, inhale, exhale, last Utkatta. So Utkatta is one of the positions that in Jainism, they would practice their meditation, which is called Kayotsaga, in. And we know that's a fact from mentioned in text going back at least 2,500 years. Good. Coming back up, if you feel the flow, hands to the heart, take a deep breath in, and a deep breath out, and another deep breath in. Padmasambhava, who's on the shrine, is an incredibly powerful, I can't quite get across to you how powerful an image and a symbol Padmasambhava is. There are huge statues across Tibet and northern parts of India to Padmasambhava. And he's a tantric yoga practitioner. And when we have an image of Padmasambhava, it's usually associated with a great amount of sort of blessing energy in the room. So the Buddhist Center don't bring out this Padmasambhava very often, so we're very lucky to have him on the shrine. Now, often, but not quite in this image, Padmasambhava in many images has eyes. I try and do a quick impression of his eyes. They're like that. And they're sort of in awe and wonder. They're like, oh, wow, whoa, right? And they're really wide open. So that symbolizes the great awakeness, this sort of beautiful, powerful, sensual awakeness. One mantra that's associated with Padmasambhava is Hung, and this is called the Dhenu Bija, and it brings you back to roost. The Dhenu Bija is what it's said that a mother cow, she makes this sound to bring her baby cows back to her when they've gone wandering too far. So we're going to chant Hung, imagining it as blue light in the heart center. So take a deep breath in. Hung. Deep breath in, deep breath out. Bringing yourself down to rest on your back. Time's run away. I wish we could go on, but as a Buddhist meditation class afterwards, and you know what those Buddhists are like. They get very angry and very aggressive very quickly. So we have to be out on time. If you've met Sri Pada, she's incredibly fierce, angry, nasty woman. I'm being ironic. Palms face up, not too close to the body, shoulder blades scooted under, eyes closed, jaw soft. Om, ah, hum. As we lay here, we can imagine in the head and in the throat and in the heart these three mantras. In the head, Om, associated with white light. In the throat, Ah, associated with blue light. And in the heart, Hung, associated with red light. Om. White light, Ah, in the throat, blue light, Hung, red light. The story about Padmasambhava is, one of the stories about Padmasambhava is that he didn't die, but he meditated himself into a rainbow. That's cool. He meditated himself into a rainbow. And as a result, he exists still as a form of blessing energy. When you place these 3 bija mantras into your body, that blessing energy is fed into those Om Ahung directly from him, from his energy. And from there, it can be transmitted to connect up compassion and love to all beings. Imagining that all beings had Om Ahung in their head, throat, heart. Feel into your body. Maybe move your toes and your fingers. Take some little stretches. And when you feel ready, bend your legs. Place the soles of your feet onto the floor. Scoot your buttocks under. And release the lower back with several deep breaths. Roll onto your side, facing away from the shrine side of the room. Lay as comfortably as you can. Knees drawn up, tummy soft. And then when you feel ready, go ahead and roll again so that you're facing towards the shrine side of the room. Again, knees drawn up and tummy soft. Let a bit of light and color come into your eyes. And when you're ready, bring yourself up nice and easy from your side, using your arms to assist your ascent. And face towards the shrine side of the room with your hands to your heart in prayer. So imagining all beings had Om Ahung in the heart, and that we'll use the Om to affirm the following sentence. May any benefit that we gain in our acting in this way go to the alleviation of the suffering of all beings throughout the entire universe, excepting none. Om. Thank you so much for your time, Roomers. Thank you, Zoomers. And Tuesday morning, you won't see me, but you'll see Ali instead, who's doing the class on Tuesday morning. So look forward to that, and I'll see you ASAP. Thanks for coming. You. Oh, shucks. No, come on. Come on. See you soon. Love you. Bye.